Who was Vivian Maier? In 2014, the documentary film Finding Vivian Maier was released. As a result of an immense amount of research, skillful filmmaking, and the mysterious controversies surrounding the woman known as Vivian Maier, the documentary was nominated for an Academy Award. Writer John Maloof was writing a book on the history of Chicago, so he went to an auction in search of inspiration. At the auction, Maloof purchased a set of boxes with some interesting items for $380. Maloof's quest for items relating to the history of Chicago was fruitless. However, he managed to discover another sort of historical treasure chest. Maloof had stumbled upon the personal belongings of one Chicagoan, a nanny named Vivian Maier. However, Vivian Maier was no ordinary nanny. She was so much more than that. Maloof's find would later cause him to abandon his writing project in order to take up a new project as a documentary filmmaker. Vivian Maier was definitely a pack rat. Maloof's auction house purchase yielded an array of random finds, personal items like shoes, and numerous other random items such as receipts and envelopes from film developing, accompanied by random notes. Who would keep such things? This paperwork, however, foreshadowed what would be the biggest find that Maloof would uncover: Vivian Maier's secret passion for photography. The sheer number of film rolls that Maloof uncovered was astounding. Maloof found 100,000 negatives and 700 rolls of undeveloped film. After viewing some of the negatives and later developing some of the film, Maloof discovered that Vivian Maier was an artist with an uncanny knack for photography. Maloof began researching this mysterious woman so that he might learn more about her secrets. He found that she was a prolific photographer. He returned to the auction house to find out where the belongings had come from. Maier had purchased a storage unit, and the items were sold at auction after the unit was left unpaid for a period of time. Maloof was able to track down additional boxes from Maier's storage unit. He then began taking inventory of the woman's life. Sadly, although Vivian Maier was alive at the time that Maloof had purchased her belongings, she died before Maloof completed his work. Who was Vivian Maier? In an attempt to reconstruct Vivian Maier's life, Maloof conducted interviews with several former employees. Maier worked as a nanny, but also was a bit of a recluse. She hid the fact that she was an avid photographer, and there is a bit of controversy surrounding her and her life. Although there were common threads weaved throughout the various interviews, some interesting differences surfaced as well. Vivian's name was even a topic of much debate. Many of the people interviewed noted that Vivian was often hesitant to give her name. When Vivian was confronted about why she would not give her name, Vivian would refer to herself as a spy. Was she a spy? Was she crazy? Was she French? Vivian's name hardly ever appears the same way. She varied her first initial and the spelling of her last name. While one family referred to her as Vivian, another called her Viv. Still another family revealed that they would never dare call her Viv, and that they were required to call her Miss Myers, Myers, an alternative spelling of her actual name, Maier, Maier. In addition, several people were certain that Vivian had a French accent. However, although Vivian did have family in France, others insisted that if she did speak with an accent, it was definitely a fake one. The film Rashomon is well known for depicting how various people have different perspectives on an event. When it comes to Vivian Maier, there is a definite Rashomon effect present. Vivian Maier was seen by some as a doting nanny. However, others revealed that she had a bit of a dark side and was someone who put her photography before her children. She would drag her charges to unseemly parts of a city just for a portrait. Once, one of the older children that she was caring for was supposedly hit by a car. Instead of running to the child, Vivian ran to get her camera. There were a few reports that Vivian was physically abusive. However, this comment was never repeated by additional people. Well, Vivian Meier, it seems, was also quite the pack rat, as Maloof might have guessed. The families that Vivian Meier worked for reported that Vivian accumulated piles of newspapers and several boxes. She would even transport these piles from job to job, often necessitating a storage area in addition to living quarters. One employer recalled that Meier had so many newspapers stacked in her room that there was barely enough room to walk through. Meier even had piles of newspapers on her bed. Meier forbade anyone from entering her room. She would often have a padlock on her bedroom door to prevent others from intruding. One scene from the documentary film about Meier adds an air of mystery by manipulating camera angles and carefully selecting what will appear in the frame. A close-up of a padlock is followed by scenes of someone's legs ascending stairs to Meier's sacred space in an employer's home. As a result of a find at an auction house, a documentary was made of Vivian Meier's life. Was Meier a spy? We will never know. Near the end of Maloof's research, Meier was found dead on a park bench. Even her death, a mystery. What we do know, thanks to John Maloof's discovery at an auction house, is that Meier was a nanny with a penchant for photography and that she was quite talented. However, what remains uncertain is whether the ultra-private Meier would have wanted her work to be shared. Padlocked doors would indicate that Meier would not approve of having her life or her talent exposed. So the ethics of such sharing has been much questioned. Maloof admits in the film that he grappled with the idea of developing images that Vivian had never even seen herself. Critics echo these thoughts, as Meier was never allowed to self-edit her images or to choose which images to release and which to hold back. Instead of her best work being presented, everything is released for the public to view. In any case, although Vivian Meier remains a bit of a mystery, her unquestionable talent has been made public. Meet Vivian Meier. Vivian had an eye for what was called a throwaway culture. Interestingly, she once worked for Phil Donahue. Donahue, who thought Vivian was odd, claimed that he never thought she was crazy, but definitely knew her as an artist. Vivian was a master of composition. Look at this image and see how the subject is framed by the newspapers. This image probably should have been included in use of light, but I liked her take on a couple in a train. Another image of a train with elements of repetition. Yet another example of artistic framing. Here are some examples of Vivian's use of light and reflective surfaces. Vivian was a champion of the realities of everyday life. Nothing escaped her attention. Please make it a point to view the trailer, The Life of Vivian Meier, online on YouTube called Finding Vivian Meier. Thank you.